Now we lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is approval of minutes for June 26, 2025 meeting. If everybody's been able to look at the previous meeting's minutes.
Yes. Move to approve. Move to approve minutes.
Move to. I'll approve. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved. Okay. Next on the agenda is resolution for the Lawrence Township proposed budget for 2025. Mr. Trustee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, board members and Judge. Thank you. Good evening. And today's budget presentation is truly a family affair, a product of teamwork, collaboration, and commitment to the people of Lawrence Township. I'm proud to stand here with our leadership team to work diligently to put together a budget that reflects both our responsibility to taxpayers and our compassion for those in need. This budget is not the work of one person. It represents the voice, ideas, and expertise of a dedicated team working together. Our team was to balance. Our goal was to balance fiscal responsibility with meeting the growing needs of our community, and I believe this budget achieves that balance. Earlier this year, we made important changes to our assistance guidelines so we could help more people. Already, we are seeing the results. More families are receiving the support they need to stabilize, get back on their feet, and move forward with dignity. We are mindful that recent changes made by the Indiana General Assembly will alter funding mechanisms for all units of government, including our offices. Right now, no one can say with certainty how these changes will impact us over the next 2 to 3 years and beyond. But I want to assure you that we are planning carefully and preparing responsibly to navigate this uncertainty. Despite these unknowns, I'm deeply proud of the progress we've made to create this budget. It reflects transparency, accountability, and a commitment to serve our community well. I believe the budget we are presenting tonight is strong, thoughtful, and positions Lawrence Township to continue to be successful. I encourage all our residents to engage with us in this process, ask questions, and stay informed. Today, together, we as one community can ensure that Lawrence Township Trustee's Office remains a place where families feel supported and opportunities to grow. Mr. President, I will pass the comment over to the Deputy Trustee to present this portion of the budget, and after that, I believe our Chief Financial Officer, Dave Lyman.
There we go. Good evening, everybody. Technical issues aside, I'm here to discuss some of those changes the legislature made, the trustee alluded to in his opening. This is a complicated process this year. There's always a lot of moving parts. But this year, there are about 4 bills that impact the way funding is received at the township level moving forward, and other local units as well. One of the things I wanted to go ahead and start by saying is there is still a hard cap on the levy. The 4% levy growth, this is where they're going to start. The maximum you can receive is the 4% growth year over year. However, there were some bills that were kind of curveballs. We just found out last week a bill to do with airports, local airports affected the excise taxes that we receive. So you will see in this budget a couple places where there are zeros. They aren't large sources of funding, but they do impact our budget. But they did also replace that money to the best that they could with property tax revenue. So we got a larger increase, a larger portion of the property taxes from the township to offset those losses. And again, that's something we account for just a week ago from DLGF. Additionally, the property tax circuit breaker was expanded. There's a lot of good reasons for that expansion. It does a lot of good, but it does impact our budget. For instance, they increased or started the property tax exemption for veterans. I don't think anybody in this room is going to complain about that, but it does affect our bottom line. So when Becky presents the financials that you're going to see today, you will notice that the circuit breaker, which is basically the reduction that we were going to receive from the property taxes, is going to increase more significantly than it has in the past. Okay, and if you don't understand how that works, essentially the assessor makes the assessments for everybody's property taxes. But then, if you are, a senior, or if you are a disabled veteran or something of that nature, you can apply for that circuit breaker, and then the amount you actually pay is going to be reduced, and that gets reflected in the property tax revenues local resident units like ours receive. Additionally, a bill was passed this year that requires unrestricted funds, a portion of unrestricted funds that have been unused during a calendar year, to be transferred into a township road fund. How this works is it only applies to unrestricted dollars. Those unrestricted dollars are found in township general and the rainy day fund. Township assistance is unaffected. And those have a statutory purpose, and that will be untaken, right? They're not going to take any of that off the top. We're going to make sure that's funded. So again, the budget you're going to see today is going to reflect some changes on where we want to put money, where we want to have money, where we don't want to have money, to ensure that we are maintaining the funding to continue our statutory purpose of providing that township assistance. That law is a 30% off the top. So if you can imagine the rainy day fund, which had $4,000 to $80,000 range, if left unchanged and unspent, 30% of that rainy day fund, which the board and the trustee have worked diligently to keep as a nest egg in case of emergency, to make sure that we have a proper financial function and we can maintain that level of support, that would be captured by this road fund. So you will see appropriation from rainy day that you don't normally see. So I wanted to explain that up front, why you see that appropriation to township direct assistance and shelter, because that money is a restricted fund and will not be taken for the roads, if that makes sense. It was a very complicated year, so if I'm moving on this too quickly, I'm happy to answer questions at some point too. So we also are required by law this year to submit a capital improvement plan. This was been more statutory suggestion in the past. That law was changed this year. That mandates if we do not pass a capital improvement plan by September 30th, we will not receive our levy. So no revenue, from the levy moving forward, which is why you see that on the agenda tonight. And that's the kind of high level overview of what statutory changes we saw this year and how it's going to impact our budgeting process and our finances moving forward. As the trustee said, nobody knows exactly how this is all going to play out over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. Some things apply right now, some things apply in January, some things don't apply until next December. So how those things all work together as we move forward, we're going to have to wait and see. The Department of Local Government Finance couldn't tell us. The ITA couldn't answer our questions. The accounting firm that works with the ITA can't answer these questions. There's just too many moving parts. But we know we will see some impact. The limited impact we see this year, again, is reflected in the budget that you're going to hear about from Becky right now.
Any questions?
I would like that too. Quick question as to the capital improvement plan. What does that entail? Does it mean township-wide or just for this building? What is the definition of a capital improvement?
It would be to our holdings, or you could buy property. You could buy land, build a park or whatever, but we can do improvements to your property. You can use that for it. Now, I will also say, through our discussions, we are not required to make the expenditures we list on the capital improvement plan. We're required to submit one. It's required to be itemized for a minimum of 3 years. 3 to 5 years is a requirement. So again, that plan out, you're gonna see 3 years of capital outlays kind of put out in that plan. However, if we decide, next June, if we don't want to spend money on this item, or if it's got too expensive, or it's no longer available, or something else comes up, they're not gonna penalize us for not following that plan. It's just the fact that we have to have one.
Are the funds restricted for those purposes? Like, can we not use them if we can only use them on what that plan is, right?
No, we can't. If we find we need to, let's say we need to rebuild the entrance for some reason, right? To be ADA compliant, and that wasn't on our plan, but we find out there's an issue, we could spend our money on that, and it wouldn't be harmful to us. But another thing I'll kind of tag on to what your question was, is if we list money on that capital improvement plan, it is no longer considered unrestricted. So another thing moving forward, if we want to avoid that 30% capture, we can list every dime, for a capital outlay. Maybe that's something we want to do in the future if we can afford it, but that we don't necessarily have the means to go about it, or maybe we want to save toward that end. That money won't be included in the road transfer.
But will we be able to move it back should we need it for another issue? And for example, there's a catastrophic fire,
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
it can be moved
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
for
It's
the
not-
use of that.
There's no requirement that we use it for that purpose, and we can use it as long as it's in general that can be used for anything. We can
So
use it
it's
for another
movable.
purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not creating a new fund. It's just creating a plan that we have to submit to the state.
But you can't move money from the road fund back to general.
No, not from a road fund, but the capital improvement plan, I believe is what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm
Correct?
asking with reference if it were placed over in, those funds were allocated or identified as capital improvement plans, and we had those funds set aside, we could reallocate those plans for something
Yes.
else.
Yeah, those funds will remain in rainy day or township general.
They just have to be used, and within a certain period of time.
They don't have to be used at all, but you have to find a purpose for them.
Okay.
No, sorry.
Township road fund. The law requires 30% of all unrestricted funds to be transferred where? Just,
It's basically Becky would set up a fund in the computer. It's all the same bank account. It's just like we have a fund for the court's operation, we have a fund for, it's in the same pool of money, but when we report it to the State Board of Accounts, you've got different buckets and different purposes for individual lines of money.
Do you have to come forward and ask for appropriation from the board to transfer that money into certain funds?
I'm not 100% in the process on that, I'll be honest. I can look into it and get back to you guys. That will not happen until the end of next year, 2026.
We're not, they have not, they just said come January of next year, what the balances are in these particular funds, unrestricted funds, then 30% would have to be, transferred to the road fund. But if it's allocated underneath the capital improvement, then that is kind of,
But I will reassure the board, and I want to say on the record that if an event would take place, we would come for the board and ask for a resolution to use that fund.
I understand. But money, if you need to, like say if you need something, do we take that money out of a rainy day for that?
We could, if there's money in the rainy day fund, So what we're talking about is simply, you'll see on this capital improvement plan we're gonna submit today, the next item on the agenda, we have an allocation, from rainy day for a capital improvement. We do not have to spend it on that. If another need would arise next year, an appropriation for that purpose could be made by the board. As long as it's there, you can still appropriate it to another need.
One thing, and my concern is, I'm just worried, just say we have a tornado or something come through, and we have these funds running in these different
I think once we
categories.
get
Would
into the
that
budget
cover
and
us?
stuff, it'll explain a little bit.
Yeah, I think it'll make sense as we go along. The money is not, they're not requiring us to spend for that purpose. They just want to know that we have purpose for our tax dollars. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
They want to know that we're not collecting money for no reason from the taxpayers in Lawrence Township. And if we have, a purpose to spend that, they don't want to capture it. But if something were to arise that we had to spend it for that was more important than the thing put on the capital outlay, we could spend it on that. Or we could choose to not spend it on that capital, outlay at all.
So it's a proposed allocation, it's not necessarily an
Yeah, that's
actual.
better, yes, that's the way to put it.
Okay.
They just want to know that we're paying attention. We're not just have money
Collecting
sitting around and
We're
we have no
not-
plan for. That's my read on it. They want to make sure we are paying attention to our books and we have a reason for the tax dollars we're getting.
But the capital improvement plan right now this year is not as important as what's gonna have to be passed September of next year. That's when the board has to pay attention, because come January of 27, whatever's left in that unrestricted fund, the rainy day, we gotta put the 30% into the road fund,
So the 30% doesn't kick in until January of
27.
Right.
So,
So we wanted to cover it because it's a change in the law and it does affect how we budgeted this year because you'll see we wanted to have more money in the restricted funds, assistance, to fit our primary purpose than have a large bank balance in general, which is unrestricted. So that's where we're going.
Do the allocations then take on more, like, is this the case right now, or like, will that be the case as we move forward, that the capital improvement dollars don't necessarily have to be spent?
Unless they change it, as of right now, there is no requirement for us to spend the money as we put it on the capital improvement plan. I think it's a regulation of, because circumstances changes, right? Inflation, we might budget $50,000 for something and next year it costs 75. We don't have 75. We can leave it on there again and hope to be able to afford it in a year or two, or we can find another purpose for it, and they're not gonna penalize us for that.
Yeah.
okay. I am going to go over the 2026 budgets, but real fast. I kind of want to explain our book. The first tab is what was put into Gateway and advertised to the taxpayers. Tab 2 is everybody's budget, Township General, Small Claims Court, Township Assistance, Bonds, and the Rainy Day. Then the tab 3 is the financial statements. This is what states that we do have the funds available to support what we are proposing for our budget. Tab 4 is the miscellaneous revenue. Tab 5 is our debt management of how much is due on all the bonds. 6 is this presentation. If you want to look back at it or follow along in your book, you can. And tab 7 is the first quarter and second quarter figures that you have requested over the years. So now I'll start in with the 26 budget highlights. The proposed 2026 township budget is fully funded and approved by the Department of Local Finance. All budgets, including the small claims court, were budgeted for a 3% raise and a 15% insurance increase. Our bank balances reflect a shift in code in response to the statutory changes and to ensure township remains in a strong financial position in the coming years. Our township assistance budget, the proposed budget for direct assistance is flat, carrying over same figures from 2024. The assistance budget includes $150,000 appropriations from the rainy day fund to shelter, which is also in the recognition of the 2025 statutory changes. The township general budget, estimated cash balance for December 31st is 2026 is $113,777. The next slide goes over the miscellaneous. Like you know, everything is an 18-month budget. The explanation of the miscellaneous revenue is the first column is what we'll get between now and December, and then the next column is from January to December of next year. You will see that our FIT, financial institution distribution, and our commercial vehicle tax has jumped tremendously from $4,331 to $11,676. This is due to House Bill HEA 1392, where he was talking about the airplane for the airport. And then you'll notice that we shifted around the COID. We did a flip-flop on the COID. In other words, we put more into township assistance and less into township general, because township assistance is a restricted fund. So we can build that up and take down our general so we don't have to give so much to the road fund. The next page has to do with our bonds and where we get the money coming in. If you'll notice, July to December of this year, we will get FIT tax and CBET, but January to December, we wouldn't get any in the bonds for FIT and CBT. In talking to the Department of Local Government, once our our assessed value, if it goes up, it should cover that. If not, then we may have to switch around and pull some from the general that they put in there into our bonds, so we don't have to worry about that. But that's down the road. The next page has to do with the levy. The estimated maximum levy is $562,111. The cap this year is $159,440. If you remember over the past years, it's been around 80, 84. Last year it was 84,000. It doubled due to Senate Bill 1. So our property tax this year coming in is $402,671, which is about $50,000 less than what we got last year. Then our miscellaneous revenue for the general, and then for the court, their fees, which again, they have a bill, House Bill 1001, which has said we will only receive docket fees for the court in June and December. So we kind of had to figure all this in here too. So with the levy calculation representation, the estimate of property tax to receive is $402. The total revenue coming into the township next year is $1,047,323. The township's budget is $528,933. The small claims court is $889,496. For a total budget expenditure of $1,418,429, which, when you take that from the money coming in, is a deficit of $371,106, which is what we're using our cash bank balance. Yes, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Trustee. So they're saying our beginning balance 1/1/26 will be $484,883. You take our deficit of $371,106. That will leave our ending cash balance next year of $113,777. So if you would take 30% of that, we would only have to move $34,133 to the road fund. If we would keep like we have in the past and keep that high balance of $484,000, we would have had to turn over $145,000 to the road fund. So that's why we have done a little bit of shifting of the money. Any questions so far?
I don't know if I'm following the annual surplus or like the budget surplus number for this year. I'm not understanding.
Okay, the surplus? Okay.
Or the deficit for 2025, the 371,000.
Okay, because you're taking our budget, which is $1,418,429. That's how much money we need to fund our budgets.
Right.
It's 2026 is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's a typo. It says 25. It's 26. That's the issue.
Oh, it should be 26, not 25. That should be 26.
Yeah, it is.
Okay? So with only bringing in $1,047,323, we have to use our cash reserves, which you knew last year we had a large cash balance.
We did.
Yeah. So now we're using it so that we don't have to put so much money into the road fund. We're putting more into township assistance, building that fund up, so next year we can move a little bit more of our COIT into the general
I think I understand what you're saying. I just don't think I see it. I'm not understanding how it's written, I suppose. So are we saying that there's a 371,000 deficit this year at 12/31/2025?
No, next year.
There's a typo at the bottom. It's supposed to be 26.
So this is starting. Is anybody else confused? I'm a little confused. I'm sorry.
I am now.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a,
These are typo, okay,
so all the 25s are supposed to be
should,
26?
all the 25 should be
Every
26.
25 that I've seen here.
Every 25 you see up there should be 26s.
So
This is all 26, nothing 25.
So we're, I guess the deficit from the budget and then the ending cash is where, so we're saying that from our beginning cash balance, we're gonna use that, and that's how much we expect to have left. So
Right
what-
here.
So this 484, that's our total ending cash balance as of 12/31/2025.
If we spend every penny, or no, if we spend what we have the authority to spend in our budget, that should be our ending cash balance. But we normally don't spend all of our balance,
That's right.
so it should be up.
And Becky, when you did the number for the court miscellaneous revenue, was that an estimate based upon filings and the aggregates of all 9 courts, or was that an estimate based upon what we have done as a court alone in the last year?
That's just on ours.
Okay.
Just ours.
So it
So that
be
could be
higher. That's the
increased.
difference, too.
Right, that could be increased, once again, once we get the monies, all the 9 courts go downtown to the auditor's office, right? And they disperse that money in June and December, it could go up. We have an idea of how it would, so that could help that balance too.
I just feel like last year we had this conversation about like if we're gonna have that much of a deficit, how long can you do that for, right? So like at this number, I think that's, you know, when we get to the end of 2026 or when we get to
Right,
even
so then we're
set
going to
balance.
have to switch COIT back to where it was. So they, again, we've all been good steward of taxpayers' money.
Right.
We wanna keep as much as we can here.
I think I understand that, but I think the suspending down the cash balance, but like being $371,000 over your levy is just it just feels a little, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Alright.
Yeah, help me understand.
Yeah.
I'm not following.
So we had built up over $500,000 of bank balance in Township General, right, over the last couple of years by shifting COIT. Justin, I don't know if you know what COIT is. You know what we're talking about? I'm
Probably not
sorry.
good enough to explain it, but I understand.
Okay, so we get like $90,000 a month, right, from the fire department deal we had from 15 years ago, I believe, right?
Yes.
So that money, we have the option of splitting up however we want. So the idea behind this budget is we want to run lean in general, knowing full well we can shift COIT again. If for some reason an expenditure came up next year that was going to cause us to run that too close to zero, which none of us want to see happen, we can shift COIT. The money's already there. It's already coming in every month. We can shift it. We don't want to leave a $500,000 balance. So this is less a picture of spending $371,000 more than we have coming in. Then we shifted COIT, just put that in bank balance in township assistance, again, to fund our primary objective, or we spend down the bank balance here to avoid the growth capture. Now, you're right, that is not sustainable, but by the end of next year, if we ran the way we had, as Becky said, we would just be giving up money.
$100,000.
So we recognize fully this is not going to be the continuing trend, but this is something we're doing in recognition of the statutory changes to protect the stewardship of the township dollars. And then once we see how all these moving parts move together, again, the court fund, I mean, all sorts of moving parts. We're going to have a better picture of how that money is coming in a year from now. And right now, everybody, DLGF, everybody's throwing their hands up. Nobody really knows what the complete picture is going to be. So we're just trying to do what we can to make sure we're being
Reserve as much money as
responsible.
we can here to stay in the township.
And then if we need to change course next year, we have the flexibility. Luckily, not every township does to do that.
Right.
Is that, I don't know if
That
that
helps.
okay.
That helps. Yeah.
Any more questions?
On this.
And the next slide would be township assistance. We have our ending cash balance of this past June, the revenue to come in, which we know what's gonna be total revenue, remaining budget for the 25 is $445,666. Our ending cash balance in 25 should be, in that 25, $417,839. That's how we would start our 26 budget. Our miscellaneous revenue coming in, giving us a total revenue and township assistance of $1,074,707. The township assistance budget is $758,993. Our ending cash balance would be $315,714. Now, as I said in the beginning, our township assistance budget is flat. We carried over the same amount for our housing, household supplies, schools, all that. We know we're gonna need more money when it comes to shelter. So we took we're asking for you to budget $150,000 for, from the rainy day so we can use for township assistance. We'll use that $150,000 first before we would go into the township assistance, which would bring our bank balance up again. So then next year, when we move the COVID over, you're still gonna have a higher bank balance. Am I making sense what I'm saying?
To me, yeah.
Huh?
To me, yeah, you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're asking for you to budget out of the rainy day $190,000. $150,000 of it is going to be for shelter for township assistance. The other $40,000 is for capital outlays. And we'll get into more of the capital outlays in the next resolution. But it's just ways of trying to keep as much money as we can into the township. We should know in about 3 to 6 months where things kind of stand.
Yeah.
Any question?
This seems like a lot. Like my misunderstanding is to say that the beginning cash balance is $417,000, and the ending cash balance is $315,000. That we only spent about $100,000 in capital assistance in this budget.
Yes, because we're going to use a lot of it from the rainy day, $150,000.
It's going to be, we're going to be spending.
Huh?
We're going to be spending revenue. We'll be spending revenue.
Right. I mean,
Okay.
I get it. I just want to make sure
Okay.
I understand what the plan is here.
Okay.
And just, like, so, I feel like we made some changes to the requirements and guidelines and whatnot, and I would imagine that'd be a bigger chunk out than the 100.
Well, that's why we put
Right.
the 150, but we also have 150 in township assistance for shelter. So we got a total of about $300,000 for shelter.
Got it. But I guess it's the estimate that we would only spend 100,000 of it that I guess I'm confused about.
No, we'll have to look into it.
Right, like I would think that we would have if we're giving away more. I know that that's what we've heard a lot about. Like, hey, since we've increased it, people are getting more approved. We're sending out more dollars. It just $100,000 just seems low to me. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I don't know. I just comment. I just feel like it seems low. But also, like I think that the end of this year budget, if we have a remaining budget for 2025 is $445,666, right? Then the ending cash balance being $417, that means we only spend another $27,800 this year. That doesn't seem right either.
Without sitting down and looking at it, I don't want to talk off the top of my head.
Yeah.
We can put the numbers together. I think you were going to stop by tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can have that ready for you.
Excellent.
And I want to make sure, I'm sorry, Becky. Let's slide back. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure we're talking about, this total revenue number is what we're going to be working from next year, and not just the ending cash.
Right.
So, I mean, we're really, we're going through the 750, not 115.
I think that the ending cash is important here because it's township assistance dollars, right? Like they're restricted for the service of the township. So I feel like we're, just like we were in previous years, we're putting the money into township assistance knowing that we're not going to spend $200,000 of it so that we can have it later. And again, I just think.
But I don't think we're going to have that this year.
Okay.
I think the way the spending is going, I don't think you're gonna see that.
And Betty's going to speak to that next also. And at the end of the day, if we didn't put this here, then it would just have something to 30% capture.
I think, again, I get that part. I feel like there should be more spent. Again, I feel like there should be more spent.
All right.
But I get why that you're saying that.
So, one question, just to be clear. The remaining budget for 25, and then the township assistance budget 20, it says 2025, but it should be 2026 township assistance budget. Those two are expenditures, right? So the revenue is actually, for the, at the top there is 863,000. We're spending 445 of it on everything, all the township assistance stuff.
Yeah.
That's what's budgeted, and then that leaves 417. And then in the next year, the revenue coming in to that is $1,074,000, $1,074,707. We're spending $758,000. So we're not spending like $100,000 from cash to cash. We have a reserve for if there's a bigger thing that happens in the year, right? But we're planning to distribute almost $800,000 through the course of the year.
Thank you.
Your quarterly reports are number 7.
Thank you.
I just think it makes it a little bit more complicated because you're just trying to justify what changes they're gonna try to make, and you're just kind of predicting where you're gonna be, but you don't wanna, go over with everything, so it kind of makes it a little bit different, But we, we'll know, we won't let it get behind, so we'll
It's just we're gonna have to watch really close this year.
follow through with it.
Really close this year. It's just to make sure that we keep the dollars here
Right.
and not put it in a road fund that can go
We
to,
lose it, yeah, we don't want to lose it, 'cause what we want to spend it and give it to the community, what we need to give the community, right? Instead of, losing it and not being able to help anybody with it.
I know in the month of July, I processed probably as many vouchers as I did for the first 6 months. So it is trending, we are giving out money.
So the guidelines, when we raise the guidelines, it really helps out quite a bit. That's something that we don't have to look at in the future, but raising them again.
I told staff, I want to look at the hard numbers. So next year, first 3 months, I was doing the last first 3 months of this before. Yeah, and then make that comparison to see if going into 27 budget year, we might need to shift something.
Yeah, with all the other changes and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and be a little bit more clearer
Yeah.
perspective on everything.
But just for, as a procedural matter, if someone's gonna speak, I want you to say their name because the viewers don't know who they are. Okay. And that would probably be helpful.
Maybe it'd be good if you look at me and write your name out.
Okay. And that would be, probably helpful.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Time for the fun part. We're going to talk about township assistance, the expenditures through August 30th, 2025. Changes in the township assistance guidelines, along with increase in need, has seen expenditures for rental assistance has nearly doubled in 2025 compared to the same point in 2024. An increase in applications and expenditures in school clothes has been observed, having spent $41,604 through August 31st. Expenditures on utility assistance has increased by $2,542. Here again, I just want to say thank you all for increasing that opportunity for us to assist more families, because that cost has gone up. Overall spending on direct assistance has increased by 39% over 2024 through the first 8 months of 2025, representing an increase in need and an increased capacity to meet those needs. Number of requests for township assistance has increased 13% year over year. Their number of recipients of township assistance has increased 27% year over year. The total number of funerals, burials, and cremation applications approved by the township is up 75% year over year. Expenditures on burial assistance have increased by a magnitude of 5 times year over year. We expect expenditures to continue to rise through the end of 2025 and into 2026. Changes made to the guidelines over the past year has allowed for more money to go out the door to assist township residents facing financial emergencies.
I have a question. Did we increase the funding for burials? Pardon me? Did we increase the funding
Yes,
for
you
burials?
did. Yes, you
We
did. Yes, you did.
Good deal. Underneath the guidelines.
And we've had more directors and funeral homes
We have
do business
with us, yeah.
Yes.
With us before.
Also, I mentioned that Sutherland has a new owner, Sutherland Cemetery.
Would we, I guess my answer would be that when you get these, budget to actual spending reports, can we go to dates? Can we get it before August 30th as opposed to 6/30? I think the biggest thing that's missing here is that clothing and shoe assistance was at $45,000 is what we budgeted, and now it's an additional $41,000 that she just told us that we spent. So when we're looking here, not additional, that is for, I shouldn't say additional, I'm sorry. It is $41,000 that's spent, down from that 45 that shows us it's still here, and the budget actual that we're referencing. So if we can just put that, if we could go to August 30th, that would be, when we get next year, when we get the budget documents or anything like that, we'll just, I think it would be helpful.
We'll do that. We'll do that. We'll make a note.
That makes sense.
We'll do
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Right now.
So I have to be excused because I took myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
If any board member have any questions or want to say anything about staff members, please feel free to give us a call and we'll do that.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next one's, John. Small claims court.
Good evening, everyone.
Judge.
If you'll turn to tab 2 and go 3 pages in, that would be the proposed 2026 budget for the small claims court. And once you all get there, just let me know. As you all may have heard earlier from Becky, our township small claims court budget will be $889,496. And what we have done for 2026, our budget remains the same with only 3 increases. You would see in our budget that we have a 3% increase should you all accept and adopt or approve a raise for any staff. And then we also have included the 15% insurance increase in our budget should our insurance provider come back with an increase for 2026. I believe that also the third thing that you may see as an increase is if the General Assembly should approve an increase for the General Assembly and the judiciary's salaries, then we have also built in, I believe it was another 3%, may have been 5% just to be safe, but it typically comes in around 3%. Other than that, all of our positions remain the same. All of our expenditures remain the same. I will say this, in last year's budget, what we had in retirement income or set aside was approximately roughly about 44,000. What we did as a change, and you'll see it on the first page, and it will be under the category of Character 1 for personal services. We created an account for unemployment, and that would be unemployment that could potentially be paid for our navigator, Cheryl Johnson, should our grant funding cease to exist and she doesn't leave with another job. All right, so we wanted to make sure that we protected some funds from the grants that we have had in the past to make sure that it should unemployment request be made, we would be able to pay it without it being charged to the township itself.
So, I guess what you're saying is this is a proposal, this is what you're proposing the item to put in, right? Not what we've ever spent before, like.
So typically, I think a couple of years back, maybe 5-6 years back, and I'm looking.
18.
Okay, yeah, 2018. We used to include unemployment on our budgets, but then we removed it back in 2018 because the township as a government entity was not required to send funds to unemployment or DWP or for purposes of unemployment payments. So we took it off of our budget. But because she is being funded from an outside source, I wanted to make sure that that didn't become an expense to the township should she cease to be an employee of the township and she has to file for unemployment.
That's my question. Thank you.
So, I'm sorry. So we talked last year about the interpreter services.
Yes.
And you're still like way over right
Yes.
now. So
Yes.
should we put anything else additional aside within that budget? I mean, like you're way over.
Yeah, we don't have control over the community and, who comes through.
Yeah, you should have the services. I just want to make sure that we're
I know. And I know you're not trying to say that you would not fund it. The short answer would be yes, but I'm always mindful that I can always try and work within our budget before I have to come back for an additional allocation. And just to be fiscally responsible, I have no problems with it, but I appreciate if you all feel the need to fund that line item a little bit more with some additional funds, because we do run over every year and we try and get grants from the Supreme Court. But as you can see, our Haitian population and our Hispanic Latino population has increased. And so we do have a high volume coming through our court. And those interpreter services run about $250 an hour. And that's what does us in. We're really spent by the end of the first quarter with the way we have budgeted.
Yeah, $3,000 budget. Yes. It is clearly not enough. So can you help us, how did you land at the $40,000 number for unemployment?
I'd have to look at Becky for that calculation, quite honestly.
It's $10,000 per employee.
It's roughly 26 weeks at $380 a week is the maximum amount an employee can receive. So it's roughly $10,000 per person if they receive the maximum amount.
Unemployment payment?
I mean, the maximum Indiana allows for,
A weekly unemployment payment, yes, is $380.
And 26 weeks is the maximum amount you can receive. So that's just the high end figure.
But I remember this been so many years ago. Okay, but a lot of times it used to be after you get your 6 weeks without whatever they did, then you would get for an extension.
Well, that's where they expanded it now to 26 weeks, and I think that's what Derek is reflecting. It's not just the 6 weeks, because I think you do it over the course of a year, and so whatever employers that you had during a 12-month period, and so that's why we budgeted for 26 weeks.
But does the employees pay into their unemployment?
So we as a government entity, we don't do it. That is why we have moved some of the funds from the grant and allocated it for this funding.
Government does not pay unemployment insurance, so whenever an employee leaves and applies for unemployment, we have to pay it out at the general fund.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that we had funds allocated for that purpose.
So if we had to move $10,000 to make your translator services, better aligned, where would you take it from the budget as it is now?
Well, we do, let's see.
Is that how far over we were?
We're just about 10,000. It's over 10,000. I think we budgeted 3,000. I think it's at 16.
Yeah. I would probably have to take a look at what we run with other repair and maintenance, and then potentially maybe some legal services as well. It depends on how active we need to be with the General Assembly where those legal services, whether or not those get used. But typically when we have to hire a lobbyist as a group of small claims courts, my portion is usually not more than about $4,000. So I think I could probably do it from those two line items.
Thank you. So I have legal services. I'm sorry.
Legal services and then other repair and maintenance.
Thank you.
That maintenance, does that go for what, equipment or?
It's mostly like, I would say plumbing, anything like that, with respects to shared expenses with the township trustee's office.
The rugs, the janitorial service, internet.
Yeah.
The share. The phone is a separate line item.
Yes.
What were the repairs and maintenance this year? It looks like you're using about 85% of that budget as of June 30th.
Yeah, I mean, we've been lucky that we had the bond basically to do some of the things that could have gone wrong, and that helped, kind of offset any kind of expense we would have had to share with that.
Something. Thank you.
Okay. And if just to let you all know, Molly, will you hand me my phone, please? I was trying to do some rough numbers. Please don't hold me to this. I probably can have something a little better as a figure for you that by the next meeting we have in October, if we go that far out. But as of August 28th, all 9 townships were running roughly at the rate of about, we had new filings of 21,420 cases from January to August. Now, with that being said, if we ran anything close to that for the second half of the year, and we multiplied that by our filing fee, which is $115 without Terry, correct? So if we take that $115 times the 21,400 and something odd cases that I just talked about, that would be roughly $274,594. And if you divided that, let me rephrase that, $2,471,350. Dividing that by 9, that would be roughly about $275,000 a quarter. That's if our numbers were double what they were in the first half of the year. So I want you to know what Becky and Derek did, and Rachel did in extrapolating, just going off of the numbers that we had last year solely for our court. we could potentially be benefiting greatly from this new statute that pools all the money for all 9 small claims courts and then dividing it by the 9 of us.
Sure.
Again, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, we will be on the beneficial higher end of this, whereas a Wayne or Center Township and Perry Township will not get as much money because they were already making that kind of money.
So
in
we will
general
be
funds.
getting money back to Perry Township or Decatur?
No, that has sunsetted. So Decatur and Franklin no longer get that additional $1.50 because we're all pooling funds now. They will be 2 of the courts that benefit the most from this bill, from this new statute.
All right.
So it will put us in a better position with assisting with the court. And I think Becky, when we and I talked, we decided that we were going to set it. It will be a fund within the general fund because it has to be specifically used for the court. It can't be commingled with the rest of the general fund monies for budget purposes.
Yeah.
Did I say that?
It'll be
right?
restricted fund.
Yeah.
And it's a restricted fund, so they cannot capture the money that's the other restricted fund.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot capture the money that we bring in from the court. Again, a lot of moving parts.
To use for the whole township, it would have to be specifically used for the court. Any other questions? As always, you all are free to come by and watch us or come on in and ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we need to open up for a public hearing on the proposed budget.
On the capital improvement plan.
Or you want the capital improvement plan?
No, you have,
Yeah,
you have to close this public.
Yeah. I can close it down.
So you are recessing the normal meeting for a moment and calling the public meeting on the proposed budget. We saw the presentation, so say all those words.
Okay,
So
so
we recess
we
the normal
recess,
meeting
recess.
and you're calling a public meeting.
Now I'm calling the public hearing,
Yep, very good. On the proposed budget.
proposed budget.
All right, and now ask for anyone.
Anyone in the public have anything, questions, anything?
All right, now since you didn't hear much, now
No,
you
we're
gotta
gonna
ask.
close it.
You did?
No, no, we gotta pass it.
You gotta ask for a motion. to
Have a
close.
motion to pass.
No,
No,
you need
well,
to get a
no.
motion to close the public.
To close.
Motion to close the public
Public hearing.
hearing.
I make a motion.
All right, Jess.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay,
Now you need to
now,
resume the normal meeting.
now we're going to open up the public hearing for the capital improvement.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so we've got another public hearing now at the capital improvement.
And you want it the public, have any comments?
No, we got here.
Yeah, oh, yeah, but here, that's
Yeah,
right.
the short presentation, very short.
So as we mentioned, we talked about it several times, we're required to pass the capital improvement plan by September 30th. We will not receive any of our tax levy for fiscal year, calendar year 2026. Resolutions, very straightforward. It cites the code where the capital improvement plan is required by the legislature, the state law. If you go further to the next page, it gives the actual capital improvement plan we are submitting to you for passage. We have on here, as required by law, it needs to be a 3 to 5 year capital improvement plan. So you'll see 3 years listed out, 2026, 2027, and 2028, with capital improvement projects listed on it for a total estimated cost of $220,000. I will say this first item, install roof access ladder. If you follow that line across, the source of funding is listed as a construction bond. If you recall, the construction bond closed at the end of June. However, we are allowed to keep a de minimis amount of 1% or less of the total construction bond to use in the future on future projects. This would fit within the available funds for that. Something we've never had here. Whenever contractor comes out, they can't get on the roof unless they bring a large ladder in the row. So anyway, that's what that is. The next item in 2026 is a mini split supplemental HVAC for the courtroom. Now, I can just go through the reason for that. It's supplemental. If ever there was, it was 120-degree heat index out there, or if it's negative 20-degree, whatever, real feel, and the judges has a courtroom full of people over there, and it's a problem temperature-wise because of how extreme the temperature is, that's usually when we experience it. I mean, outside of some sort of issue, she has to close the court if it's not livable in there. A couple weeks ago, we had a power outage on a Saturday that lasted for several hours. I only know that by reviewing the security camera outage time period. All the HVAC in the building was out. It needed to be reset. Luckily, I took notes on how to do that myself in the future, so we don't have to pay that. However, again, if the judge had a courtroom full of people, she would have to adjourn court and get all those cases. So this is a supplement to make sure the court operations can be maintained in the event something goes down. The estimate actually was about $16,000 per unit. I put it at 40. We fix inflation next year. That's what that's for. 2026, 2027. There is a rooftop control unit. That was not part of the replaced HVAC system that we had all these individual handlers throughout the building. The reason we did not do that with the construction bond is because during the period of time that we got the bond, we did the HVAC, and when we decided we wanted to do that, federal law changed, and they can no longer use Freon. We have a new coolant, and our contractor has said the new units aren't reliable. We've had a lot of problems with it. I don't recommend you spend money on this right now. So that's why that's kind of been a holdover. However, there's not enough money left for rainy day to handle that, but there's not enough in the construction bond, the minimus left over. So that's why that's listed at rainy day. And then one item, all these windows are all original in the building. The seals are worn, et cetera, et cetera. So that's another somewhat wish list item to replace the windows in the building and to bring it up into the 21st century. Again, we're not required by law to spend this. It was according to the schedule. If something else were to arise, we could change what we're spending it on. If we chose, we just did not want to do it at all, there is no penalty. However, we do need to pass this resolution and construct our capital improvement plan in order to receive our tax revenue next year. Do you have any questions on
What's the penalty?
we would not receive any tax revenue at all? Yeah.
No property tax.
It's-
We don't get it in by the 30th.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But,
I have a question. This rooftop HVAC, haven't we worked on that before or did some
Not
repairs?
that
Not that particular
you know a lot more about HVAC than I do. I know that. I'll tell you this. I wasn't working on the actual replacement of the system began. So I've had a lot of conversations with our contractor to try to understand what was and was not done. These things were all installed. There were some updates. I think there were some updates somewhere, but the control units, or whatever they call them, that actually distributes the coolant to all the individual handlers throughout the building, was not replaced. I don't believe
They weren't replaced.
that.
It wasn't.
So
Well, what? Okay.
So this is my understanding again through a lot of conversation. I've been trying to learn what didn't happen, just like you're asking right now.
Right.
That's my understanding, and so that wasn't what I've been told. That wasn't bad or an issue at the time, and that's why I think it wasn't done. And now that we've had some issues with leaks that led to tenant areas not being cooled in the summer and that sort of thing, we've had to, and finding a refrigerant leak is costly and not always successful in repairing. They recommended we replace it, but like I said, the new coolant refrigerant laws and the units they're putting out now, they don't have any confidence in, and they didn't. He's kind enough of a contractor to say I wouldn't recommend buying one right now.
Okay.
No questions?
move to adopt the resolution number 25-10. Wait, on the public hearing.
So we need to ask if anyone in the public has any comments.
Anyone in the public have any comments?
All right, now you can entertain a motion.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion.
That was that.
Second.
All in favor?
All right, now,
Now we can go to the resolution.
yeah, you resume the regular meeting. Okay, resume the regular meeting.
Review of the second quarter township financial report. We already have that.
So we have to adopt the resolution.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt.
We move to adopt.
Second.
We move to adopt resolution 2025.
25-10.
I'll try next week.
So who moved?
I move.
I'll move.
Okay, another second.
And Justin, second.
And Justin second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda is approval.
No.
No.
review of the second quarter township financial reports, which is on tab number 7. I included the first one, first quarter, then the second quarter. I figured that would be a good place for you to keep them so you can always look at them. So those are in your book. The next future meeting date will be the passage of the budget, which is scheduled for September 23rd at 5:30.
I need to request to move that, Mr. President. I need to request to move that date.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that.
I cannot be there on the 23rd.
We already advertised.
We already advertised.
Yeah, so we can. It was,
I will not be there on the 23rd.
You're with
do they have enough for a quorum?
No, they have enough for a quorum. Good. You're here.
Yeah.
Can you call it?
September 23rd?
Did we adopt the virtual meeting policy?
Yes. Yeah, it was only during COVID emergency, I believe.
But we didn't adopt a policy for virtual attendance.
That date is also Rosh Hashanah.
Huh?
That date is also Rosh Hashanah. So we know. Holiday.
Right, so, yeah, I'll look to see if we can attend virtually, but I'm not sure we can. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean, it is my flagship program of the year, that date, so, I mean, I won't be here.
You're out.
Yeah,
Okay.
5:30. Is 5:30 okay? You want to take your time?
Yes, I think it's good.
You can record it.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Okay, we're good? Okay. 5:30 today, on the 23rd.
So, I'm sorry, before we adjourn, I thought that the date that we had was published on the budget calendar is the 27th for this meeting. That's Saturday, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm good.
No, Tuesday's September 23rd, very first, page 1. At the top, adoption meeting is Tuesday, September 23rd, 5:30 p.m.
I'm all set.
Yeah, I see it. Here, I know I had seen that. Okay. Everybody's good? Have a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.